At the flower viewing banquet hosted by the Empress. The painting I had painstakingly created turned out to be the same as the one my cousin had submitted first. And I was judged a plagiarist, dying with my eyes unclosed. Upon my rebirth, with 5 days left before the flower viewing banquet, I still hadn't figured out what had happened. Until, at the banquet, when I discovered my painting was once again identical to my cousin's, I heard a cold, mechanical voice. If you hand in your painting first, then she will be the one plagiarizing you. Claire, don't blame Liana anymore. My elder brother Henry's voice sounded at my ear. My heart pounded violently. I jolted awake and saw Liana toppled into my brother's arms, crying like pear blossoms in the rain. Another voice followed. Liana has always been frail. Claire, you should know when to stop. I turned my head and saw Adrian, my childhood sweetheart, looking at me with wounded reproach. A familiar scene replayed before my eyes. I finally became certain that I had been reborn, back to 5 days before the flower viewing banquet. Brother Henry, Adrian, please don't blame Sister Claire, Liana said. I took the liberty of accepting the invitation on her behalf. It's only natural that she's angry with me. It's just that I had no ill intent, she continued earnestly, though looking extremely aggrieved. I only thought that, as the famously talented lady of the capital, Sister Claire would surely shine at the flower viewing banquet and catch the attention of the distinguished. I never expected it would upset her so much. It's all my fault. Her tone was sincere, her expression pitiful to the extreme. I stared at the trio before me, my brother, Adrian, and Liana, and the words of that cold, mechanical voice echoed again in my mind. If you hand in your painting first, then she will be the one plagiarizing you. In my last life at the flower viewing banquet, Liana submitted a painting identical to mine ahead of me, and I was branded a plagiarist. After death and rebirth, I still had no idea how such a bizarre thing had occurred. Now I finally understood, there was someone behind the scenes instructing Liana. Enough, Claire, Henry said, frowning. Liana meant well. How can you be so unreasonable? Adrian also sighed. You've always been too headstrong. Hearing them both speak up for Liana, I felt a chill spread through my heart. I retracted my gaze, lowered my eyes slightly, and said in a calm voice, I'm tired. Then I turned and left. Back in my room, I locked the door. I took out the painting I had spent half a month composing, my greatest effort. In my previous life, this painting had been accused of plagiarism. I still didn't know whether Liana had seen it beforehand. Just in case, I steeled myself and tore it to pieces, then burned it. I told myself inwardly, as long as I create a new painting within these 5 days before the banquet, I will not repeat the tragedies of my previous life, and Father will not die because of me. I shut myself in for 2 days, seeing no one, focusing solely on conceiving a fresh design. This time, I must devise something entirely different. But Henry and Adrian knocked at my door. Claire, we made you some soup. I set down my brush, put the painting away, opened the door, and looked at them coolly. Thank you, but I don't need it. Claire, you've been avoiding us. We kindly brought you chicken soup, and you're so cold to us, what's wrong with you? Adrian frowned when I didn't accept it. His tone was harsh, he seemed unsatisfied with me. Henry also frowned. Claire, apologized to Liana. You were in the wrong that day. I laughed softly. I was in the wrong? If it hadn't been for my rebirth, I would still be muddle-headed, believing Liana was acting for my sake. But now, I finally understood, she was the one manipulating everything from the shadows. She accepted the invitation for you out of kindness, Henry said. If you don't want to attend, say so. Why take your anger out on her? Adrian chimed in, displeased. You should apologize. The 2 men I had cared most for, both speaking in unison for Liana. I lowered my eyes. I won't apologize. Henry's brow tightened. Claire. I lifted my gaze, expression calm. I'm busy now. If there's nothing else, please go back. I closed the door. In my past life, I, too, had shut myself up to prepare for the banquet and paint. But on the day of the banquet, Liana's painting and mine had been exactly the same, and I was convicted of plagiarism. I had wanted to seek help from Henry and Adrian, but they were busy apologizing to Liana on my behalf. They even expressed disappointment in me, saying that although I had been raised in comfort and well-educated from childhood, I had turned into a rat who only knew how to steal, that I didn't possess even half of Liana's character. A false charge, mocking gossip, reproach from kin and friends, these alone hadn't yet made me wish for death. Until my father, who served as an official at court, fell out of the emperor's favor because of my supposed plagiarism, was punished over a minor fault and exiled, and finally died in Lingnan. At last I could no longer forgive myself. I threw myself into the lake and ended my life. And Liana married the crown prince and became his side consort. Just thinking of the previous lifetime made my heart turn cold. For the next 3 days I shut myself in and painted, finally finishing a new work on the morning of the 4th day. I let out a long breath, the fingers that had gripped the brush so long aching and trembling. Sophia brought in porridge and dishes she had prepared. "Miss, eat something." I nodded, about to take the bowl, when I suddenly froze and asked, "Where is Liana?" Sophia paused. "Second miss went out early in the morning." My heart sank. In my last life, it had been on the 4th day that Liana somehow learned of my painting's content and submitted a work identical to mine before I did. This time, I had torn up the original. I had designed a completely different composition. But if that thing was already in motion behind the scenes at this time in my previous life, then it might still be. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to calm down. No. This time I would hand my painting in first. Even if someone tried to make my painting and Liana's the same, at least the one accused of plagiarism would not be me again. I put away my painting, ate a few hurried bites, and prepared to leave. But before I stepped out, Liana returned. Seeing me, she showed a faint smile. "Sister, where are you going?" I said evenly, "To the Marquis's residence to submit my painting." Liana's pupils trembled ever so slightly. Her expression paused, then she smiled. "So sister has finished her painting?" "That's wonderful." I brushed past her without another word. She stood where she was, watching my back, and slowly lowered her eyes. At the Marquis's, the steward inspected the painting and praised it, then said it would be presented directly to Her Majesty at the banquet. I finally exhaled a sigh of relief. When I stepped out, I encountered Liana's maid. She was on her way in, holding an embroidered box. I felt my heart give a sudden lurch. I had submitted my painting first. This time, even if there was another identical painting, the plagiarist would not be me. The day of the flower-viewing banquet arrived. The aristocratic ladies of the capital gathered like clouds, the scene glittering and grand. Charlotte, in a bright gown, looked radiant and noble, accompanied by the Empress. The Crown Prince and Leon were both present as well. Paintings were presented one after another. At last it was my turn. The maidservant unfolded my scroll. The Empress's gaze paused for a brief moment, then she smiled. "Not bad." I bent my knees and offered my thanks. Then Liana stepped forward. "This humble girl also has a work to present." Her scroll was unfurled. My heart thudded. It was exactly the same as mine. The cold, mechanical voice echoed in my mind. "If you hand in your painting first, then she will be the one plagiarizing you." I clenched my hands, suppressing the surge in my chest. The Empress's expression cooled. "Identical paintings?" The hall stirred. Liana's eyes instantly reddened. This humble girl would never dare plagiarize sister. She bit her lip, tears brimming. "I submitted my painting yesterday. The steward can attest to it." All gazes fell upon me. A fresh wave of chill washed over me. I had submitted mine yesterday morning as well. Yet Liana also claimed to have submitted hers yesterday. The Empress's face darkened. "Summon the steward." The steward hurried in. "Replying to your Majesty, both paintings were received yesterday. The humble one checked the register. Liana's was first. The crowd erupted. My mind buzzed. I remembered clearly, I had gone in the morning, and had even seen Liana's maid entering as I left. So, she had indeed submitted after me. But now, the register said she was first. Liana, with tears hovering on her lashes, looked fragile and wrong to the extreme. Your Majesty, this humble girl truly did not plagiarize my sister. The Empress's gaze turned to me. Claire? I felt a bitter chill spread within. Your Majesty, I did not plagiarize either. The Empress's tone cooled. Two identical paintings, submitted on different times the day before. If neither of you plagiarized, then how are they the same? I opened my mouth, but could not speak. Because I, too, wanted to know, how could they be the same? The Empress's expression turned indifferent. Take both paintings for review. Today's banquet will not be marred by this. Her words fell, and the atmosphere slowly smoothed over. But I felt as if plunged into an icy cellar. By the time the banquet ended and I returned home, the capital was already buzzing. Claire plagiarized again? Last time she was convicted of plagiarism and forced to throw herself into the lake. No, that was gossip, yet now she's doing it again? Or was it Liana who plagiarized her? Public opinion seesawed. I knew this script too well. In my last life, it ended with me convicted of plagiarism. The steward had already testified that Liana submitted first. I wanted to seek help from Henry and Adrian. But they only reproached me again for being too stubborn, and kept advising me to apologize first. I suddenly felt exhausted. That night I couldn't sleep. At midnight, a chill wind slipped through the window. The candle's flame flickered. I sat alone by the table, the words of the mechanical voice echoing over and over. If you hand in your painting first, then she will be the one plagiarizing you. Who was it? Who was it, instructing Liana behind the scenes? I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms. No matter who it is, this time, I will drag you into the light. The next day, the Empress issued an order for the Ministry of Rights and court painters to examine the two paintings and determine the truth. Before the result came out, rumor already surged through the city. Some said, Claire is used to coasting on her reputation, she can't stomach that Liana shines now. Some said, Liana used to act so gentle and kind, perhaps she finally revealed her true face? I went to the Marquis's residence at dawn. On my way, I ran into Liana. She stood under the eaves, a paper umbrella in hand. Raindrops beaded the oil paper surface, she looked fragile and pitiful. She lifted her eyes slightly. Sister. I stopped. I never plagiarized you, she said, voice soft and trembling. I painted it myself. I stared at her quietly. For a long while, I asked, who told you to hand it in first? Her eyes flinched. No one. Her denial was swift. Then she smiled faintly. Sister, we're family. Why hurt each other like this? I looked at her, at that flawlessly gentle face, and felt nothing but coldness. Family? I said softly. Liana, if we were truly family, you wouldn't have pushed me into the abyss in our last life. Her pupils contracted. She didn't understand that sentence, only I did. Because only I remembered the previous life. I turned and left. When the results were posted that afternoon, the court painters declared that the compositions were identical, the brushwork nearly the same, one must be a copy. The register showed Liana's earlier submission, thus, they concluded I had plagiarized. My lips felt numb with cold. I stood before the hall as gazes flooded me, ridicule, pity, contempt. The Empress's voice was indifferent. Claire, for plagiarism at the banquet, you are stripped of the prize and will copy the classic of filial piety 100 times as punishment. If there is another offense, you will be banned from court entertainment. I bowed my head. Yes. As I straightened, I slowly lifted my eyelashes, and my gaze swept, inch by inch, across the people attending the banquet. At last my eyes landed on a man in purple, Leon. He looked casual and aloof, as if nothing here had anything to do with him. In my previous life, at this very moment, he had also been like this, indifferent. I silently lowered my eyes. Very well. Then let us begin, again. That night, I returned home and shut my door. I unrolled blank paper and began to draw the same composition once more. If someone could make Liana's painting and mine identical even after I changed designs, then I wanted to see whether the same thing would happen again if I redrew it from memory. At dawn, the paper was filled. I placed the fresh painting aside to dry. Sophia entered with porridge. "Miss, eat first." I took a few bites, then said, "Watch over the painting. No one is to touch it." She nodded solemnly. I went to the study to copy the classic of filial piety. By noon, I returned to my room and paused where I stood. The painting was gone. Only a trace of dampness remained on the table. My heart, for an instant, stopped beating. "Where is the painting?" I asked. Sophia's face went pale. "Miss, we haven't left the room. I only went out just now to fetch hot water, only a moment, and when I came back, it was gone." I closed my eyes. "Get the steward." The house steward arrived, sweating. "Miss, I will investigate at once." I stared at him. "Last night, at this exact time, who entered or left my courtyard?" He faltered. Replying to "Miss, no one, no, Madam sent a maid to ask if you needed anything." "Which maid?" He stammered. "She said she was sent by 2nd Mississippi." I laughed. "So it was you again, Liana." "Find the painting within an hour," I said coldly. "If you can't, you needn't stay in this residence." The steward broke into a cold sweat and hurried off. Half an hour later, he returned, trembling, carrying an embroidered box. Inside lay my painting. It was in 2nd Mrs. Storehouse," he whispered. I took the painting out and looked at it. The corners of the paper bore faint traces of moisture. It had clearly been moved not long before. I rolled it up, expressionless. "I understand." The steward was drenched in fear. "Miss, this." "Say nothing," I said. "Return to your duties." He fled in relief. I stood alone in the room, the corners of my lips slowly curving into a cold smile. "Very good. This time I finally caught your tail." That evening, the Empress held a small tea banquet in the Imperial Garden. The night breeze was cool. Lantern lights swayed like stars. I arrived with my painting. When I entered, Charlotte was conversing softly with the Empress. The Crown Prince sat to the side. Leon leaned against a pillar, expression unreadable. I stepped forward and curtsied. "Your Majesty." The Empress nodded. "Rise. Why have you come?" "I have found new evidence regarding the plagiarism," I said calmly. The Empress's eyes sharpened. "Oh?" I lifted my hands. "Please have the steward bring out Liana's painting as well." Soon, both scrolls lay open under the lanterns. "The one on the left," I said, "was found in Liana's storehouse this afternoon." "It is my painting." "The one on the right is the scroll Liana submitted yesterday." A murmur rose. Liana knelt at once, tears welling. "Your Majesty, this humble girl would never dare steal sister's painting." I don't know how it appeared in my storehouse, someone must be framing me." I looked at her quietly. "Then please explain why the corners of my painting are still damp." She stiffened. I turned to the Empress. "Your Majesty, yesterday morning I submitted my painting." After that, Liana's maid entered with an embroidered box. The Empress frowned slightly. "Summon the steward." The steward of the Marquis's residence arrived, head bowed. "Speak truthfully," the Empress ordered. "Who submitted first yesterday?" The steward trembled. "Replying to your Majesty, the register says Liana's scroll arrived first." My heart sank. "Register?" the Empress said coldly. Then where's the witness who received the painting? A young clerk was brought in, face ashen. He knelt and knocked his head on the ground. Your Majesty, spare me, this humble one, took silver, someone told me to record Liana's first. The Empress's face turned ice cold. Who instructed you? The clerk shook like a leaf, unable to speak. Silence pressed down. A low, lazy voice sounded. It was I. Everyone turned. Leon stepped forward slowly from the shadows, his purple robe rippling in the lantern light. The Empress's gaze turned hard. You? Leon's expression was indifferent. I ordered the clerk to switch the entries. The Empress's anger surged. On whose orders? He smiled faintly. My own. The Empress's face sank even further. And why? Leon's gaze slid past the crowd and landed lightly on me. I wanted to see who was playing tricks from the dark. My breath caught. He looked away. Now it seems the fish has surfaced. The Empress's expression eased a fraction. She swept her eyes over the kneeling clerk. Confess everything. The clerk trembled. It was second Mrs. Maid who delivered the money, said it was to record second Miss first, this humble one dared not refuse. Liana's face went bloodless. Tears spilled. Your Majesty, I truly did not. The Empress cut her off coldly. You bribed the registrar, stole your sister's painting, and framed her at the banquet. For such audacity, you shall be confined at home for 3 months and barred from court for a year. As for the maid, hand her over to the Ministry of Justice. Liana's lips trembled. She collapsed in a kowtow. Your Majesty. The Empress's gaze swept past her, indifferent. Take them away. Guard stepped forward. I lowered my eyes slightly. Only then did the iron band around my chest loosen. Under the lanterns, Leon stood with hands behind his back, the corners of his mouth barely curved. The next day, the capital erupted. Liana bribed the clerk and stole Claire's painting? So the plagiarist was actually Liana. Then last time, was it also? The wind had changed. Henry and Adrian came to see me. Henry's expression was complicated. Claire, Adrian's lips tightened. We misjudged you. I looked at them calmly. It doesn't matter. They both fell silent. After a long while, Henry said, I will speak to Liana. I said nothing. That night, I stood beneath the eaves alone, looking up at the cold moon. The wind brushed past. My sleeves fluttered. From now on, I would not let anyone push me into the abyss again. Whoever had raised their hand against me in the past. One by one, I would make them pay.